Can I have a seat? Okay, Mr. Meade,
Hold on, we have our jury. I'll let you know. You okay? Okay. Mr. Meade, you're still under oath. And now you may inquire.
thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Meade, I want to back up to where we were talking about. When you first got out of the truck, you said you didn't have any cover or seek cover. Do you remember that?
When I got out of the truck, yes.
Yes. And that you said there was no cover that you could have had or sought to view the door or to position. Is that correct?
No, there wasn't a reason to seek cover. I was in a pursuit.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to hand you it. Exhibit.
The picture itself?
Yeah, does it look like it's at the scene?
Yes.
Okay. And that would have been somewhere, and is that a fair and accurate depiction of what that would have looked like on that day?
Yes.
And, I mean, take that.
Yeah.
Yeah, publish it.
Sure.
May I have the other one? Okay. So this would be the estate's house, Casey's house, correct?
Yes.
And this would be the side door and fence.
Yes.
Okay. And your truck would have been somewhere in this area, is that right?
I believe so.
Okay. So there's this tree right here. That would be covered, wouldn't it?
It could be covered, yes.
Okay. And you could have sought cover there.
There wasn't a reason to seek cover. I was pursuing the suspect.
I understand, but my question was, you could have sought cover there, is that correct?
It didn't seem relevant at the time. I was pursuing the suspect.
My question is, you could have sought cover there, correct?
There's no reason to seek cover. I don't understand why you're asking me. There was never a option for me to seek cover at that time. My intent was to get to the suspect as fast as possible.
Had you sought cover there, okay, you would have had a view of the door, is that right?
Overruled.
Had you sought cover there, you'd have had a view of the door in which Casey was entering, is that correct?
I don't know. I never sought cover, so I never actually took cover behind that tree, so I can't tell you what I would have been able to see for sure from that place.
Now, had you sought cover here, you would have been able to see the door, at least from that photograph, is that right?
I don't know.
Okay.
Sustained.
You would, okay,
Sustained.
thank you, Your Honor. You could have waited for,
Let's let him finish the question.
it would have given you time to assess the situation with Casey at the door, is that right?
What's the question?
I said, had you sought cover there, okay, without pursuing, okay,
Same objection. Sustained.
so what was your concern for Casey? What was your concern that you had to close the gap so quickly?
To get to him, to detain him, to investigate why he just pointed a gun at us, at me, and take off in the other direction.
Well, just wait for backup, let him go in, go knock on the door. You'd have had time to run leads. You'd found out that he lived there, correct?
This is a matter of moments that I have to make this decision in a matter of moments. He has a gun in his hand and he's going to a place I don't know. He's bypassed a front door, went into a side door of a house. I don't know that he lives there. I don't know that he has intent to kill the occupants. I have no idea. I know my duty is to pursue him and to stop him from being able to threaten anybody else. He had just threatened me. I got to make sure he doesn't do that to anybody else.
There's nothing unusual in a side door. I think we all got side doors in our homes.
I guess if you say it as it stands alone, but in combination with the totality of everything that was happening, that's why it was odd to me.
Okay, so you'd conjured up that he may be going in to harm somebody. Is that what you're saying?
No, I didn't conjure anything. My assessment is he's trying to get away from me. So my intent is to stop him and to detain him.
But you said that you didn't know if he's going to go in and harm somebody, or, is that right?
I didn't know.
But that's what you were thinking when you were,
All I'm thinking is I got to get to him and stop him and to detain him. The multiple possibilities of all the things that he could do, I couldn't assess all of those.
right, because there was nothing to indicate that he was threatening anybody in the home.
No, there was nothing to indicate that he wanted to cooperate with me at all.
Okay, all right, that was your assessment. So what I'm saying is that you could have waited for backup, let him go in the home, correct?
No. Why? My backup was with me. Why would I wait? I'm a police officer, sir.
You may.
There you go.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Meade, just, I'm going to hand you, just so we can get the, how far away when you were at sales and estates. Estates Exhibit
Are you going to
27.
show council?
It's just. Estates Exhibit number 27. Recognize what that is?
It's a Google map.
It's a Google map showing estates,
Estates, Case Road, Cell Road, and Estates Place, as streets, and indicated with little rectangles indicating homes.
okay. And is that a fair and accurate representation of the map of that area?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Now, yesterday, you'd indicated when you started to sell an estate, You remember that?
Yeah, I had stated I'd stopped in the area of the intersection, yes.
Were you in the intersection?
I don't know exactly where. I just know I was in that area.
Okay, well, how many houses from Sale and Estate if you were in the intersection to get to the, where Casey, 3996?
Which one's 3996 on here? If you could tell me.
The corner of Case.
Which one is that? There's like these two things here. Which one is
All
that?
right. I'll put it up on the map.
Okay. There we go.
You see the intersection of Sale and Estates Place?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And if you're traveling, the residence we're talking about, 3996, is on the corner of Sale and Case, correct?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. So to see the house there?
That is the house then?
Well, that's on the corner of Sales and Estate.
Okay.
Uh,
I've never seen this map before. That's why I'm asking. So if these are structures, I'm just asking which one is the estate's place. I don't know.
Okay.
3996. Okay.
Okay. So you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 6 houses from the intersection. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, you indicated Casey was on the threshold of the house when you shot him. Is that right?
Yes, he was in threshold. Yes, sir.
And Casey was not facing you when you shot him. Isn't that correct?
No, I said his back was to me, and then he turned toward me.
Okay.
That's when I shot.
Well, did you shoot him when he was facing you or he turned towards you?
I shot whenever I saw the gun being pointed back toward me.
And all your shots struck him, correct?
I believe so.
Okay, and that was 6, right? Okay, and they all went through the storm door, right?
I don't know. I suppose.
You were aiming, right?
Yes.
So to hit him, you'd have to shoot through the storm door, unless there's some other way.
Yes.
Okay. And I believe you said that the storm door had been resting on his back,
Yes, that's how it appeared.
and that was the time when you shot.
I shot while it was resting on his back. Is that what you're asking me?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know where the door was specifically whenever I shot.
Okay.
I wasn't looking at the door. I was looking at the gun pointed at me, sir.
Now, you'd indicated on direct examination that you had flipped the safety on your select fire weapon. You had flipped the safety to fully automatic. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in your previous statement that you made, that we've been discussing, okay, that you made about 2 or 3 weeks afterwards, in that statement, you stated you flipped the firing pin, or the firing mode, and shot at the suspect, and you stated, I stopped firing when the suspect collapsed inside the doorway. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And then you went on to say, I believe I fired 5 to 6 rounds. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Now, nowhere in this statement did you indicate that it was in fully automatic. Isn't that true?
Yes, that's true.
So that's a pretty important fact because you were trying to put all the important facts in here that should have been contained in here. Correct?
That portion of it is important.
Yeah,
The
it's
firing
fully
mode?
automatic.
I don't.
Fired in full automatic mode.
They took my rifle. They knew what modes I had on my rifle, sir.
So I'm talking about at the time you fired, You're now telling everybody it was full automatic.
Yes, it wasn't full automatic.
And you never stated that in your statement.
No, I did not.
Instead, you said that I fired 5 to 6 rounds and that you stopped firing when the suspect collapsed.
Yes.
Now, you know the difference between, obviously, fully automatic and semi-automatic.
Yes.
Okay. And in semi-automatic, that would mean that you'd have to pull the trigger to shoot 6 times. You'd have to pull it six times.
That's correct.
And you're very efficient in that as well, correct?
In firing?
In semi-automatic mode.
Yes, I think I am.
Okay. Now, when you shot Casey, were you able to see, I think you said that he collapsed as soon as he was shot. Is that right?
It's how it appeared, yes.
And when he collapsed from where you were standing, could you see him?
I couldn't see him clearly through the door.
Okay. And I think you said that he was in the little area just inside the door. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. He wasn't in the kitchen fully?
Fully, no, he was not.
And can you tell me, what was his position when you entered the home?
When I entered the home, his position was face down. His hands, I couldn't see his hands because his arms were underneath his body.
That little area right when you come in, okay, you go straight, you'd go down the basement, correct?
Yes,
You go to the left, you go into the living room.
yes,
And then you've got this little area here, and you'd have to go to the right
right.
to go into the kitchen. Is he in this area?
He would have been in that area with his head toward the kitchen.
And he was laying face down.
Yes,
Now, you stated that you were the first one in the home, right?
I don't know that I was. It was myself and Rosser was going in. I asked him to cover, and he was covering the left as I stepped in.
And Rosser was there and witnessed when you rolled Casey over.
I believe he did. Yes,
And in this statement, okay, you stated that the gun that was found was under his torso.
Yeah.
And you never mentioned anything about being under his right arm. Isn't that true?
yeah, because his arms were actually underneath his body, and when I stepped over him, I rolled him over by grabbing the upper portion of his arm around his shoulder. So it was right here underneath that right side of his torso.
Well, that's really important information.
Objection, Your Honor, to the categorization.
I'm going to overrule it.
That's really important information, isn't it?
Important information as to where I found the gun, yes.
Yeah, and this, what you're telling us today is very important and should have been included in here, shouldn't it?
It was included. It was underneath his torso.
You never mentioned anything about his hands being underneath him.
I actually said I was giving him commands to show me his hands.
You didn't say anything about his hands being underneath him.
I indicated that I was asking him or commanding him to show me his hands.
I understand, but my question is, you didn't say anything in this statement about his hands being underneath him, correct?
That's correct.
And you never said anything in this statement about the gun being under his right arm, you said torso. But you
Yes.
never mentioned anything about the right arm.
I didn't mention that, no.
Then I believe you stated on direct that you guys, or somebody, was it you that drug him into the kitchen, the body?
That pulled him in? I don't believe that I pulled him in, no. When I turned him over, I rolled him over to clear the doorway area. He was already partly into the, like his head was already partly into the kitchen area. He was laying at an angle.
So he was laying at the same angle that he was. Okay, and I guess maybe I misunderstood your testimony. You didn't pull him forward or backward.
No, as I pulled him, as I rolled him over, it was pulling his body. And it was clearing the immediate entryway.
So you basically just flipped the body over.
Yes. I never touched him after that.
Now, when you rolled him over, I think then you went and said, later on you stated, you did not know whether he was dead. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't make that call.
So you then told Rosser to go to the living room area or towards the kitchen area to secure the house?
Not to go, just to cover it. He was still in the doorway.
And Yorkowitz was covering what?
He was covering the right, I believe, in the kitchen area.
And you, at that time, not knowing whether Casey was alive or dead, did what?
I believe he was airing, Yorkowitz was airing on the radio, and I asked him if he aired the address of where it was, the actual numbers. And then I ended up stepping right back out the side door and going up front and getting the address.
So you didn't begin chest compressions, did you?
Me? No, I did not.
Okay. But you were there, you have two of the other officers stationed, but you didn't think about starting life-saving procedures for Casey.
No, while the first thing that we did was start trying to make contact with people in the house. So, as I stated, I'd made at least verbal confirmation with a woman and a male, trying to figure out what was going on in the situation. In the meantime, we're trying to get everybody, at least whoever's inside the house, to a safe place. We still have to secure the scene before we do anything. By the time I stepped out was to go get the address to make sure that everybody who's responding knows the exact address of where to go. So no, life-saving measures can't start until we know we have a safe and secure scene.
Well, you had two officers there that had the kitchen secured.
We were in a,
Overruled.
we're in a small area that they did not leave those entryways while I saw them. So we have an entire house that still has to be secured. The place is not secure. As we've stated before, we can't get actual trained medics on the scene. They will not come on the scene until that place is secure. So priority number one for us is to get it secure.
You knew, you aired it out, you knew backup was coming, correct?
What's your question?
You aired it out, you knew there were other officers that were going to come to the scene.
When I went back up front, yes, I aired the information, yes.
You aired it before you even got there and shot Casey.
No, I aired the actual address is what I'm telling you. I went back up front and I aired the address.
Okay, now I want to back up to just pick up a couple things at the intersection of fair so far, okay?
May we approach them?
You may. Good, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Meade, during your direct testimony, you mentioned your work as a pastor. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
In that testimony, at the end, you said, I love people, okay? And you love people. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, there was a reference to the conference that you went to, that you spoke at in 2018, the revival. Remember that?
It's a retreat.
A retreat, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
sir. It's okay.
And where you gave that sermon.
Yes, sir.
And on direct examination, you asked, it was brought out, that you made a statement and you described your duties on tactical SWAT and for the U.S. Marshal's Office. I believe what you were asked was, did you make the statement, I hunt people, correct?
Yes, I was.
However, there's was more to that than just you hunting people. But isn't it true you expressed your personal feelings, quote, it's a great job, and quote, I love it. Didn't you state that as well?
Yes.
And also during this sermon, you expressed personal views as to use of force. Isn't that right?
No, I expressed views from my training.
Okay. And so let me ask you if you stated this, okay, from the same sermon. Okay. Quote, I've worked on this job for 14 years. And you're talking about your personal background here in front of people you were giving the sermon to, correct?
I was telling him how long I've worked the job, yes.
And you know, this is part of the quote, I'll start over. Quote, "I've worked at this job for 14 years,
Yes,
and you know I ain't never been hit clean in the face one time. That's a fact. And it ain't because I'm so good. You know why? Because I learned long ago I got to throw the first punch. And I learned long ago why I'm justified in throwing the first punch." Then you went on to say, "And don't look up here like, oh, police brutality. The people I hit, you wish you could hit." You stated that, didn't you?
yes, in context, with like tongue-in-cheek humor, and it drew the reaction I expected it to, which was, they knew I was making the mood light, sir.
So you thought that was funny?
Yes, it was basically, again, to connect with the audience. Remember, I'm speaking to a group of men, and I had just made reference of working on a fugitive task force that does manhunts. And of course, in my line of work, the people we go after are violent people, rapists and violent offenses that we go after. So I made that tongue-in-cheek reference, sir, yes. In context, it was understood. The 300 plus men all took it that way, or so that's how it appeared.
Not all the people you go out and when you're on the street are violent people, are they?
Oh, pretty much anyone that we actually adopt or that the U.S. Marshals adopt, there has to be a threshold of certain violence and certain levels of danger. That's the reason why they use the U.S. Marshals Task Force to go after them. They're either parole violators because they're past convictions and things like that.
So you have parole violators, anybody that's got a warrant out for them, and the task force is basically, you go through and it gets assigned to you, you take it to the task force for the task force to work.
Yeah, it's not just any warrant, though. We're not, again, it has to meet a certain threshold.
But you're also a Franklin County Sheriff's deputy as well?
I am,
Yeah. And you interact with the public, right?
of course.
Okay. And in fact, in this case, okay, you were pursuing someone that didn't have a warrant.
What, I'm sorry. And, oh, in the case here? No, yeah.
Pursuing someone that didn't have a warrant.
Yes, correct.
You're trying to apprehend him.
Yeah, this is different. This is an actual active pursuit of something I witnessed myself.
Now, you were shown defendant's exhibit I think it was D. You had the exhibit of this thing.
You said B.
R. Approach.
You may.
Recognize this.
Thanks. Yeah, I saw that. We saw that picture earlier.
And I guess when what made publish. Guess I'm a little perplexed as to why this is in here, but that's your truck with the lights on, is that right?
Yeah, it's to my left. That's it.
Okay. And were those lights activated when you approached this location? I'm not sure why this is in here,
Your Honor, could we,
but
with the commentary?
I'm going to sustain as to that. You can ask the questions.
so were those lights activated when you approached the intersection?
What intersection?
Or, I mean, when you approached and parked there? When you going down this?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't even remember turning them on. But they're on. So when that happened, I'm not sure, sir.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as our exhibit, Exhibit 8G. Okay?
What was that?
8G. Okay, let's stop there. You recognize this? Is that 3996 Estates Place?
Yes.
And is that your truck? At the corner there?
Yes, it looks like it is.
And do you see any lights on at this point in time?
And this photo? No, I do not.
And that's where you would have parked?
It appears that way.
Go ahead and play a little further. Oops. Who's the fellow with the ball cap on? And he's got the rifle.
I can't tell.
Okay, let's back it up a little bit.
Okay. All right. We got a medical
Yeah,
assist.
that's me.
You
Yep.
heard your voice.
Yep.
Okay. Now, at this point in time, medics hadn't arrived, is that right?
Hold on. You're gonna need to move, the jurors can't see.
Oh, I'm sorry. Now, let's set the stage here. So this is very early on, isn't it?
I don't know what you mean.
Well, nobody had been in the home, but you, Rosser, Yorkowitz.
I don't know about the, I have no idea.
And it looks like Barnhart. Is that Barnhart's truck there?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. But we'll back it up a little bit. Marked cruisers have not arrived, it doesn't look like, or they're just now arriving.
I don't see
Okay,
any.
well, let's watch it, and then you can tell us.
Okay. All right. We got a medical scene, but
Yeah, I know. That's what I said. Don't send them in yet.
okay. Tell them to stay. Tell them to.
You were getting in the truck. Did you see you getting in the truck?
I don't know what I was doing in the truck. I have no idea.
You don't know what you were doing.
No, sir. I don't even remember any of this.
All right. Let's play it a little farther.
Come out this way, folks. Come out. Hey, come out this way. We'll send them to you. Go back this way.
Do you know what you were doing in the truck now after watching that?
No. After watching, I still can't see me in this, I guess. The way it's moving around.
Well, let's back it up. We're going to play it back through again. And could I use, can I borrow your laser pointer, please? Do you have the laser pointer?
It's up on the stand.
Oh, it's right here.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, why don't you circle?
Okay.
That is me there.
Now circle where your truck is. All right. Let's just wait.
All right. We got a medical scene, but
Yeah, I know. That's what I said. Don't send them in yet.
okay. Tell them to stay. Tell them to stay.
A little farther.
Out this way, folks. Come out. Hey, come out this way. We'll send them to you.
Now. Okay. Now, your rear lights in your truck start blinking. That'd be an indication that you turned on the lights.
If I did, I don't remember.
Well, would that, let's back up. Can you tell from that photo or from the video whether or not your lights were activated? Once you-
No, at the beginning of the video, it didn't appear as my lights were on. I never saw me get inside my truck. It looked like I was trying to get into the truck, If I did, I don't even remember it.
You agree they weren't on before you got in the truck?
No, I agree. I didn't see the lights flashing at that time on this video.
And so, how do you activate the lights?
The lights are activated on a button on the console, like right beside the steering wheel, to the right of it.
So, but you do agree that the lights are on after you got in and got out?
On this video, yes, I agree.
Go back this way. Ma'am, come out. Start going out.
You just can't play video.
So you also notice in the video that the house is being cleared. You see the people coming out?
They're coming out, yes.
So this is at the time that the house is being cleared. Is that correct?
Yeah, as they're being exited out of the house.
Just one moment, I think I'm.
You may.
Okay. So, Mr. Meade, you indicated that the first thing that you do is make sure that you're clearing the house. Is that right?
That the house is secure? Yeah, that the scene is secure. That's our goal.
And it looks like that's what's taking place because you see the first people coming out. So what you did, okay, was leave, go out to put your lights on.
No, I was communicating with different ones on the outside according to the video. Nothing showed there that I turned the lights on. I have no idea how they got on.
And where you were coming from would have been the side door where the kitchen and where Casey had entered.
Yeah, and on the video, I heard me saying something about medics, and they were responding to me saying, we have medics on the scene, and I'm telling them something to the effect of trying to get the scene secure.
But your thought was, not at that point, not dealing with security of the scene, clearing the house, but you left to go put your lights on in your truck, didn't you?
I don't remember ever doing that.
Well, the video shows it. Do you remember it now?
No.
Well, Mr. Meade, you certainly remembered the
Objection, Your Honor.
at the intersection.
Ask the question.
You certainly remember at the intersection, after watching the video, your memory got better. It didn't get better here?
I just told you what I saw in the video was me talking and trying to communicate with the officers on the outside. I approached the side of the truck. I never saw me in the truck. So I don't know what I was doing there. I don't even remember that.
Well, that's your truck and those are your lights,
Your Honor, after
correct?
Sustained.
I don't have anything further, thank you.
Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor, may I proceed?
May?
Good morning, Jason.
Good morning.
I want to start where the prosecutor left off, okay?
Yes.
When I asked you on direct if you knew if you turned your lights on or off when you were pursuing Casey Goodson, what was your answer?
I didn't know.
You didn't know, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you tell the truth about that?
Yes.
As you sit here today, do you know if you turned your lights and sirens on at any time other than the video?
No.
Okay. Watching the video, it's obvious the lights weren't on and they came on, correct?
Yes.
Did you ever say in your statement that, yes, I turned on lights and sirens?
No.
Why?
'Cause I don't remember ever doing it.
Let's go with the statement. Mr. Shore asked you repeatedly about the statement. Let's talk about fully automatic versus semi-automatic, okay?
Yes, sir.
You said, I believe I fired 5 or 6 rounds. Mr. Schroyer didn't read this, I believe I fired all my shots in less than 1 second.
Yes, sir.
Did you say that in your statement?
Yes, I did.
In a semi-automatic, you have to pull the trigger 5 or 6 times, correct?
Yes,
So pulling a fully automatic once may give out 5 or 6 shots, correct?
fully automatic would, yes.
Did you pull the trigger once?
I did.
Okay. So now that makes sense that you believe you fired 5 or 6 shots.
Overruled.
That is consistent with your statement, correct?
It is.
In your statement, you said that when you turned the body over, that the gun was under his torso, correct?
Yes,
Was his hand also under his torso?
it was.
If a hand is here, is that where the torso is, the right hand?
Yeah, that's exactly how I explained it.
Basis? Overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, sir, that is exactly how I tried to explain it to him.
So if something's under the torso, okay, and the hand's under there, and that's where you saw the gun when you turned it, correct?
Yes, sir.
Were you counting houses when you were at Sales and State in that area, sir? What were you looking at, sir?
I was looking at the vehicle that I knew that the suspect was in, and then, of course, my attention went immediately to him getting out of the vehicle and realizing he had a gun in his hand still.
What else did he have in his hand?
He had a plastic bag.
Did you put that he had a plastic bag in your statement, Mr. Meade?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and that was before the trial, correct?
Yes,
That was 2 or 3 weeks after this. You had talked to no one about that, correct?
correct.
You had no evidence or anything of that nature, correct?
No, of course not.
Overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor. So you were consistent about that, correct?
Yes, sir.
You want to approach?
May I proceed once
Right.
Jill is ready? Thank you very much. In your sermon at the retreat, who threw the first punch in David versus Goliath?
David.
Is that what you were trying to explain
That's
with the men at that retreat?
Sir, it's exactly what I explained.
What do you mean by that, Jason?
I explained it as best as I could, that he threw the first punch based off of indicators and explaining you don't have to wait to be harmed to defend yourself.
And who were you talking to them to defend yourself against who?
The devil.
Through your scriptures.
Yes, sir.
In your experience in law training, when someone is pointing a gun, waving a gun, and running away from law enforcement, are they creating exigent circumstances?
Of course, yes.
Could they be trying to escape?
Yes,
Could they be trying to go into a barricade situation?
yes,
Could they be trying to go into a home invasion?
yes,
Could they be trying to harm someone in there?
yes,
Based on your training, you're trained to expect the unexpected?
yes,
Do you try to anticipate the unexpected?
yes.
You don't start, do you start your training with, oh geez, I think the person could live here, so I'm gonna wait and let them get inside and then knock on the door?
Sir, everything I do, my actions are based on the actions as I'm assessing them.
And is that based on your training?
All based on my training.
Let's go back to your statement, okay? In your statement, you said that a car passed northbound at the intersection of Carl and Sales, correct? Or Carl and Ferris?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And Mr. Schroyer tried to play a video and said it didn't go past, correct?
He did try, yes.
Did you correct him and show that a car did go northbound?
Yeah, I think it surprised him. I did.
So the video was consistent with what you put in your statement.
Yes, it was.
Overruled. In your statement, you indicated that once you saw the gun waving and then you saw it pointed at you, you did a U-turn, correct?
Yes,
Could you see a U-turn in that video, sir?
clearly.
Made by you?
Yes,
In your statement, you said that you stopped to tell Ross or something. Did you see your car pause in that video to tell Ross or something?
I did see it.
In your statement, you said you aired what you saw at the time, correct?
Yes,
Did you hear Deputy Youngless testify?
yes, he answered.
Did people respond based on what you aired?
Yes,
So your statement is consistent with other people's testimony in the courtroom.
yes,
We've already talked about the bag. In your statement, you said that you gave commands, verbal commands, correct?
yes,
Drop the weapon.
Yes.
Show me your hands.
yes,
You heard Mrs. Standiford testify, correct?
I did.
Is what she testified corroboration that you gave commands?
Yes,
Basis?
Maybe we approach.
Sure.
Mr. Meade, we left off with Ms. Standiford said she heard commands and then shots, correct?
yes,
In your statement, you said that you gave commands before you fired, correct?
yes, sir.
When you were leaving the Barber warrant, was your intent to go back to So Fast and have lunch?
Yes,
Did that intent change when you saw the gun being waved and pointed at you?
yes, it did.
Did you reassess at that time?
Yes,
When you saw the person get out of the vehicle and saw the gun in his hand, correct?
yes,
Was it your intent to shoot him right there?
no,
When he ran with the gun, did you reassess and did your intent change?
yes,
When you saw the person in the doorway and you were giving commands, was your intent to shoot him at that point?
no.
When you saw the gun come back at you, what was your intent, Jason?
To not die, to protect myself. And
Is
defend
that why you fired the weapon?
Yes, sir.
May I approach the witness? Defense, Exhibit T.
Okay.
May I publish, Your Honor?
Okay.
In your statement, you said you were in this area, correct?
Yes, sir.
Are there any trees between there and the porch?
No,
Are there any trees between the start of this photograph? Oh, I'm sorry. The start of this photograph, are there any trees anywhere in that angle for cover?
no, sir.
Were you trying to take cover then?
No,
Were you trying to get him to comply?
yes.
If he dropped a gun, what would you have done?
Then I would have called him back to me.
Thank you, Jason.
Okay, Recross.
Just one moment now.
So, Mr. Meade, in your statement, you said as the suspect pulled open the storm door, I yelled, U.S. Marshal, you said, show me your hands. You didn't say drop the gun, did you?
At the time, no.
And that's in your statement. You only said, show me your hands.
Until I said drop the gun. That's in my statement also.
Are you through, Mr. Schwartz?
Yes.
May I, Your Honor?
No.
Just that last point.
There's no such thing as redirect. All right, Mr. Meade, you can step down. You have any further witnesses?
We do, Your Honor.
Yes. Why don't we, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a mid-morning break. Do not discuss this case among yourselves. Do not permit anyone to discuss it with you or in your presence. It is your duty not to form or express an opinion on the case until it is finally submitted to you. Probably about 15 minutes.
Not from Mr. Meade.
All right, let's go to jury. My screen finally works. I know, 2 weeks.
Not ours.
Oh, yours still doesn't work?
Yeah, ours doesn't either.
Your screen work?
You just have to input when they put it up there, it'll come
Oh, well, we just don't know how to work it. I'll amend that.
All rise.
Everyone can have a seat? You can call your next witness.
Thank you, Ron. Gonna kinda get through this way and then around.
Little maze around here. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear, affirm under penalty of perjury, your testimony in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I swear.
Have a seat. Pull yourself up close to the microphone. And you may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name for the court, spelling your last name for the court reporter?
Yes, Ryan Rosser, Rosser.
What do you do for a living, sir?
I'm a police officer
With what agency?
with Columbus Division of Police,
How long have you been employed there?
17 years.
Tell the jury a brief synopsis of your assignments over those 17 years with the Columbus Police Department.
First 10 years, I worked in patrol. I worked in the historic Franklinton area. I did numerous temp assignments with our gang unit. And then for the last 7 years, it'll be 7 years in June, I have been assigned to the U.S. Marshal Task Force.
What's that task force called, sir?
So fast.
All right, I want to talk to you about your duties as on patrol. As a police officer, sir, are you trained in use of force?
Yes,
Are you trained in arrest procedures?
yes,
Have you been trained in, with respect to investigation matters?
yes,
Have you been trained on when to investigate?
yes,
Have you been trained on your duties as a police officer?
I have.
Have you been trained in shoot, don't shoot scenarios?
I have.
While on patrol, Officer Rosser, if you saw someone waving a gun around in a car, is that something your training tells you to investigate?
Overruled.
You can answer.
Yes.
Why so?
It's a crime occurring.
Now, during your course as a police officer, have you had people comply with you?
Yes,
Have you had people not comply with you?
correct, I have.
Have you ever encountered over the course as an officer for 17 years, anybody running away from you?
Yes.
What does training tell you what's that indicative of?
There's a reason why they're running, be it a warrant, illegal contraband, or a crime that just occurred that I might not be aware of at the time.
Do you consider that fleeing?
I do.
In your course as a police officer and with respect to your training, can someone facing away from you with a gun be a threat?
Yes.
How are you trained on dealing with that person with a gun facing away from you as a threat?
The same way I'm trained if they're facing me. As in, I'm sorry, I don't know
That's
what
okay.
you're asking.
That was a poor question. I apologize for that poor question. With respect to your training, if somebody faces you points a weapon at you, how are you trained to respond to that threat?
Do stop the threat.
To stop the threat?
Correct.
By doing what, sir?
Firing my weapon. Deadly force.
Thank you. You told the ladies and gentlemen, subsequently you left patrol and you've been on that So Fast task force. I want to take you back to December 4th, 2020. Were you working for that So Fast task force on that day?
I was.
And who is that agency led by?
The U.S. Marshals.
Thank you. Do you recall that day?
I do.
What were you doing that day, sir?
We were working warrants.
You were
As the team was together, we were actively out working warrants that day.
warrants that were adopted by the U.S. Marshals?
Correct.
Subsequently, did you have an occasion to get pulled to a warrant by SIU?
We did.
Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what that means.
We were contacted by the Franklin County Special Investigations Unit. They had a new indictment, which was basically means a warrant was filed for somebody's arrest through Franklin County Common Pleas. And it was for felony charges, and they were actively sitting surveillance on a location and asked our assistants to come help them approach the residents and knock on the door and try to apprehend him. They thought he was inside the house.
Were they doing surveillance that day?
As far as I know, they were.
Who was that person that they contacted you about?
Kendale Barber.
Did you go to that house?
We did.
Where was that house?
On Estates Place.
And who was the team lead for the U.S. Marshals that day?
David Youngless.
So do you and your team subsequently get to the house?
We do.
All right, I want to pause for a second and discuss the equipment that you have available to you as a SOFAS member. Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury about the equipment.
We wear a tactical vest that has emblems that say U.S. Marshal or police on it, on the front and our backs. Our gun belts and dinner for approaching a house. It's usually a shield. The lead guy at the door usually holds a shield at the door.
Do you have body-worn cameras, sir?
We did not.
What about your vehicle, Officer Rosser? What kind of vehicle did you have that day?
I believe it's a 2018 Dodge Ram.
And was that issued by the U.S. Marshals?
It was.
Did you have leads capability in that vehicle?
No, ma'am.
As a Columbus police officer, do you know what leads is?
I do.
Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what leads is.
Forgive me because I don't know what the acronym stands for, but we can use leads to run a vehicle license plate or run somebody's name or date of birth and or social. And then leads will return that information to us to tell us either who the vehicle is registered to, the vehicle, like if it's on the correct vehicle, it'll give us, if it's like a 2020 Dodge Ram, it'll say that, or it could be like a fictitious tag that if it comes back to a different car that license plate is on. And it'll also check individuals for wants and warrants, if they have a valid driver's license. And if they gave us their information, and if you run them through leads, it'll tell us if their information is correct. Like if what they gave us is the correct information, as if they're, either they told us the correct stuff or they didn't.
And so your vehicle on December 4th, 2020, that Dodge Ram was not equipped with leads, is that correct?
That's correct.
What about a radio?
It was not equipped with a radio.
But did you have a radio on you that day?
I did.
Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury about your radio.
I am assigned a Columbus Division of Police, just a normal radio that all of our officers have. My radio has all the CPD, which is Columbus Police, channels on it, but then it also has it was specially equipped to have the Marshals channel so I can communicate with the task force and the Marshals on a different channel that normal Columbus Police does not have.
You took my next question from me about normal Columbus police officers. I want to take you back to December 4th, 2020 now. You mentioned that you were working a warrant with SIU. You got to that house. Were you able to locate Mr. Barber at the house?
We were not.
What do you do next?
Leave the house and go back down to the street, to our cars to leave.
Okay. When you're leaving, what are you doing?
We are back at my car and starting to de-gear, take our gear off.
Do you know if everybody took their gear off that day?
I don't.
You said you took your gear
I
off?
took mine off. The gentleman that I was working with, that was in my car riding with me, took his off, and then Jason Meade took his off. He was parked directly in front of me.
Who was that gentleman who was working with you that day?
Yorkowitz.
Yorkowitz?
Yorkowitz.
Okay. Now, when you leave that house, are you still a law enforcement officer, sir?
Yes.
So if you see some criminal activity, what do your duties tell you to do as a law enforcement officer?
To act.
What do you mean by act?
To take action as a law enforcement officer.
To investigate?
Correct.
Where do you go when you leave Mr. Barber's house?
We go northbound on the state, so we go straight, and then we turn left, which would be westbound on the Ferris Road.
Where to next, sir?
We're stopped at the stoplight at Ferris Road.
At Ferris, and what other street is that? if you
Carl.
remember? Carl?
Yes, ma'am.
And what do you see when you're at that intersection?
I see Jason Meade's truck pull a U-turn from Ferris Road, like in Carl Road, come back towards us, which would be eastbound onto Ferris Road.
What was going through your mind? What did you think was going on at that time?
I just assumed he left something at the house or something dropped out of his truck.
Did he stop to communicate any of that with you?
He did.
What happens next?
Jason pulls up to the side of my truck, and I rolled my window down and ask him, like, what's going on? And Jason has like a scared and panicked look on his face, and it's like, we got to go. He's got a gun. He's got a gun.
What did you take that to mean?
I took it to mean that possibly County SIU was still sitting surveillance in the house, and somebody must have come out the house from Kendall Barber, where we just were, had just come out the house with a firearm.
And so what did you do as a result of hearing that?
I did a U-turn on the State's Place and followed Jason's direction.
Was his voice louder than what we are now when he rolled his window down and told you what was occurring?
Yes,
Was your radio, you said you de-geared, right?
I de-geared.
So was your radio accessible to you?
It was not.
So do you have any idea what any type of radio traffic that was
I
occurring?
have none.
What kind of priority is it at this situation?
A high priority.
Why is that?
Somebody with a firearm.
Is that what your training tells you?
Yes, ma'am.
So you said you follow Jason, and what do you see next?
Jason turns right, which would be southbound onto Ferris Road.
And what happens then?
We follow him on the Ferris Road.
Okay. Does Jason stop at any point?
He passes Kendall's house where we just were and pulls over on the side of the road.
What's he doing?
He jumps out of his truck and he runs to the tailgate area.
You said he ran to the tailgate area?
Yes.
What's he doing at this point?
Opening his tailgate.
Did you see all of that?
Yes.
Do you pull up next to him? What are you doing?
I pull up behind him, not knowing what's going on, since we had just passed the house that I thought we were probably going back to, and hop out of my truck.
And what's going through your mind at this point, Officer?
Not sure, like, one, I don't have my gear on, and I don't know where this individual is with a gun.
Do you see anybody in the street?
Down the road, I see a male standing in the street next to a car.
Does Jason alert you to that male?
He says, down there, he's got a gun.
And what did you see next?
Jason taking his vest out and putting his vest on.
Did you look down the street to see if there was in
I
fact
did.
a person?
Correct.
And what did that person do?
Started to kind of like walk up towards the house.
Did he look at you?
I would say so, because I could see the front of him, so he was facing towards us.
Okay. You said he started to walk up toward the house. Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what happened next.
I'm grabbing my vest from the back of my seat and throwing it on. The time I had an older vest, so it took a while for me to be able to close it all the way. And my gun belt, it has to use belt keeps to keep it attached to my duty belt, like underneath it. So I threw my vest on, and saw Jason get back in his truck and proceed southbound on Ferris Road towards the male that I just saw walking up into the grass. As Jason is going, I just jump back in my truck, follow Jason down Ferris Road. And as Jason starts to slow to come to a stop, the male picks up speed. Not a run at this point, but it's more of a quick step. And it's something that I've recognized from when I worked in patrol. It's kind of a hurried pace to get her out of the, like, get away. Like when you see a cruiser or a cop, it's more of a, like, I don't want to run because that's going to be suspicious, but I'm going to pick up my pace to get out of view. And then as soon as Jason was like coming to a stop, it was like a sprint at the very end. He just took off out of view, and then we had pulled up.
So what happened after you had pulled up?
As we were pulling up, Jason's out of his truck and moving towards where the last place I saw the male go to. And then I hear, show me your hands, and then I hear gunshots.
How quickly is this all transpiring?
Spur of the moment. It's immediate right now.
Spur of the moment.
Spur of the moment, sir, I'm sorry.
Okay, I want to slow that down, Officer Roger.
Yes,
So you
ma'am.
said you pull up, you see the person sprint. Is that correct?
At the very end, it was a sprint.
Okay. And what did you hear Jason yell?
Show me your hands.
And then what did you hear?
Gunshots.
So you heard him say, "Show me your hands."
Yes, ma'am.
Is he identifying himself at this point?
I don't know. I didn't hear that.
At that point, officer, do you have time to go interview neighbors?
No, ma'am.
Do you have time to get a license plate?
No, ma'am.
So after you hear those gunshots, what is it that you do?
I take off running towards Jason's last known location, and my gun belt was in my hand. I ended up pulling my duty gun from the holster and throwing my gun belt on the sidewalk and ran towards where I saw Jason last go.
Do you know why you threw your gun belt on the sidewalk?
I didn't need it. I just needed my firearm because I heard gunshots, and last I knew, somebody had a gun. At that point, I don't know if my partner's been shot or or there's a gun battle. I don't know what's going on.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Nay.
Let the record reflect that I am showing Mr. Rosser what has been previously marked for identification purposes as Defendant's Exhibit N. Do you recognize that, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that 3996 Estates Place as it appeared on December 4th, 2020?
Yes.
Is it a fair and accurate copy of that house as it would have appeared?
Yes, ma'am.
Permission to publish, Your Honor?
Sorry.
Officer Rosser, I believe you have a laser pointer up at the witness stand. Can you point to the ladies and for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury as to where you saw Deputy Meade as you ran up to the house?
Yes. He would have been somewhere in this area.
Somewhere in that area?
Yes,
Don't
ma'am.
know exactly
I
where.
don't know exactly.
He certainly wasn't inside of the fence though, right?
Correct.
And that's because you saw him?
Yes.
Thank you. What happens now, officer?
I get to Jason, and he tells me, be careful, he's got a gun. So Jason and I simultaneously move up to the door, just how we've been trained when we're approaching a house or clearing a house. and we get to the door, and we both, I don't know, it was like, I would say it's like almost the same time we cleared the inside, and we saw Mr. Goodson on the ground.
Do you know if Mr. Goodson had a gun?
At that time, I did not.
Okay. What happens next?
Jason tells me the house isn't clear, and then rolls Mr. Goodson over by his feet. And I don't know which way he rolled him, but he rolls him over.
What did you see at that point?
I saw a firearm underneath his chest area, and the clip of a not a magazine, the clip of a holster in his waistband.
I want to back up a little bit. You said that Jason told you the house wasn't clear. Is that a priority at that point?
Yes.
Why so?
Don't know who's in the house or what this is out of. Don't know what's going on. Don't know if there's another threat in the house.
So do you take any steps to ensure the safety of that house?
Yes. One, I turned my radio on and hit my banner, which immediately puts me onto the Columbus Police channel, like whatever my home channel would have been at the time. It moves me to that channel, gives me the air. So I radio to dispatch, letting them know, like start us a medic, start us cars. And there's the main door that goes into the house was up against a wall, like from the door that we had went into on the side. So the door wouldn't move, so I kicked the door open, and so it swung all the way open so I could see into, like, I guess it would be the living room area of the house.
What did you see when you saw the living room area of the house?
I saw a gentleman sitting on the couch with like a small child and then a Rottweiler.
And what did you do as a result of that?
I gave him loud verbal orders.
To do what, sir?
Honestly, I don't know, like show me his hands or stay where he's at.
Could you have used profanity in that?
Of course.
Why so?
Highly stressful situation and to gain compliance.
Do they do that?
Yes.
What happens next?
Yorkowitz, I notice him and tell him to take position, like to hold where I'm at. And Jason yells to me, the kitchen is not clear. So I go past around Mr. Goodson and take position in the kitchen area directly in front of him.
And what do you see in front of the kitchen area? Anything?
There's another, I guess the kitchen opens up into like another hallway, and all I can see is like a wall, and it branches off to like the left and to the right, so I don't know where extra doors are into the house. But then I have two females that run out different times, and I believe a pit bull also comes running out.
And what do you do with them?
Same thing I did to the gentleman in the living room, scream at them to get back.
Okay. And do they comply?
They run back and forth, but yes, they stay back, but they keep coming back and forth.
Why is that important to make sure nobody gets into the kitchen?
It's a crime scene.
Al, I want to, you mentioned you saw, when Mr. Meade rolled the body over, you said you mentioned a gun, you said, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I think you also were telling the ladies and gentlemen of the jury that you saw a holster clip.
Correct.
Tell the jury what you mean by a holster clip.
So it was like an inside the waistband holster, which I wear every day. And it's to help you conceal a firearm, and you secure your firearm into the holster, and then you place it inside your pants between like your belt and your body. And it secures your firearm so it doesn't fall out.
So the cloth part of the holster, is that against your body when you're wearing a holster?
For that typical holster, for inside the waistband, yes.
Are you familiar with that kind of holster?
Yes,
What kind of holster do you carry?
inside the waistband.
Okay. You said the function of the holster is to hold it in place, correct?
Correct.
Is it also, is the holster also meant for safety purposes?
Yes, so you don't have an accidental discharge.
Now, you said when a gun goes inside of the holster like you carry every day, it's meant to not fall out.
Correct, it's meant to like the friction from your body and then like your belt being that tightened against that, and the holster keeps it secure against your body.
Have you ever fallen with your holster in, sir?
I have.
And has the firearm ever come out?
No, ma'am.
How many times have you fallen with your holster in?
I mean, I don't know, maybe 5, 6, 7, yeah.
During the pursuit of anybody?
Not with, no, but just normal everyday activities, with
Okay.
being at work, yeah,
And you said the gun has never come out.
correct.
All right. After you see the gun in the holster, you mentioned when you were clearing the front of the kitchen, you continued to see two females run back and forth, right?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you remember next happening, sir?
I remember Todd Barnhart walking in into the same door that we came in, and I yelled at Todd to start CPR.
Why is that?
The preservation of life.
Okay. Who is Todd Barnhart?
He was a TFO on our team at the time.
Was he at Mr. Barber's house also?
Yes,
Okay. So he was working with you on December 4th?
he was.
Okay, so you tell Todd to start CPR. Are there any precautions that you take with respect to the person laying on the ground before Todd is able to start CPR?
Typically, they would be handcuffed.
Why, tell ladies and gentlemen of the jury why that person would be handcuffed.
Something we've been trained on from day one. They're still considered a threat, and there's obviously a firearm also nearby, so that person is still considered a threat, no matter what it may appear to anybody that just shows up. You handcuff to make sure they're, like, they don't have use of their hands, so they are no longer the threat that they were.
So is that standard on every scene you've been on with?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know are you familiar with the +1 rule?
I am.
Tell ladies and gentlemen of the jury what the +1 rule is.
The +1 rule is you find one firearm on somebody, you look for a second, because chances are there is a second firearm. And I've personally arrested individuals with 2, 3 guns, like, on their person or nearby to their person. So you always look for that second firearm, because sometimes they'll have one in their, like, waistband, and then they'll have a second one on their ankle. You have to take that precaution.
So is that the reason why you handcuff that person?
Correct.
Okay. Eventually, does anybody else from your team show up?
The rest of the team does show up.
And eventually, are they able to clear the house?
I believe that the So Fast team clears the residence.
When's the next time you saw Jason?
I think before somebody drove him from the scene,
Okay. How do you exit the house, sir?
through the same door that I came in.
Would that have been the side door? Okay. Now, are you cognizant of trying not to contaminate the scene at that point?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I want to talk to you about the scene out front. Do you eventually make it out to the front of 3996 Estates?
Correct, I do.
Tell ladies and gentlemen of the jury what you observed in the front of the house.
So at this time, Columbus Police has responded to the scene. So there's multiple uniformed police officers and cruisers. And then I see a group of people who, I didn't know who they were, but I knew they were in the house from when the team had cleared people out, standing in the front of the house, down by the street around a vehicle, like congregating together.
What does typical protocol tell you to do in those situations when you have people who may have witnessed something congregating together outside of a house?
They're all considered witnesses, or potential witnesses. You separate everybody. Everybody goes into a different vehicle, like a different cruiser, with an officer, and they're not on their phones. They're separated, so they're not coming up with similar, like trying to come up with a story together or contaminate their story with, oh, I saw this or I saw this. And then that person just may not even do it intentionally, but absorbs somebody else's story into their story, even though they didn't mean to.
Did that happen in this situation?
They were all together, correct.
Basis?
She's asking, what these people were saying.
No, she was asking whether he separated the witnesses.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Was it your job to separate the witnesses?
No, ma'am.
Do you know if they were separated?
They were not.
Okay. Eventually, sir, are you interviewed about what you saw on December 4th?
I am.
Were you interviewed that day?
Yes.
By who?
I believe Detective Wooten,
Detective Wooten. Is he with Columbus Police?
Columbus Police Homicide.
Eventually, were you interviewed by the FBI?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember when that was?
I want to say April.
April of the following year?
April of 21, I'm sorry, yes.
No, that's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
How about these gentlemen right here? You ever talk to any one of them?
No, ma'am.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rosser. That's all the questions I have for you at this point. I'm sure Mr. Merkel will get up and ask you some questions
you,
as
ma'am.
well.
Any questions? Cross-examination?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Officer Rosser.
Good morning, sir.
Let me see if I can refresh your memory. You and I have spoken in this capacity, have we not?
At the federal building?
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so perhaps want to amend that you've never spoken with me.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, we've spoken to the similar proceedings like this,
Thank you.
yes.
Now, the first time that you ever saw a gun with Casey Goodson is when Mr. Meade ruled, Mr. Meade ruled him over, correct?
Yes, sir, you're correct.
So when you were on Ferris Road, you didn't see Casey with a gun.
No, I did not see Casey at all.
Okay. You didn't even notice it.
No, sir.
And when you were on Estates at the, I think, right around Sale Road, where Mr. Meade had stopped and you stopped, you didn't see Casey with a gun.
Correct.
In fact, you saw him with a plastic bag, right?
I did not see that.
You didn't notice that either. Is it safe to say that you were pretty confused about what was going on
I was
at
confused.
that point?
Yes.
So even though Mr. Meade, as he rolled by you on Ferris, spoke with you, he wasn't, you remained confused. He didn't clarify exactly what he'd seen. Is that correct?
No, it was just he's got a gun.
You know, and you're thinking, okay, this is Kendall Barber, he's come back, we got to get back over there.
Correct.
And you held on to that thought until he proceeded by the Barber house, correct?
Yes.
At that point, you're saying, well, to yourself, I guess, or thinking to yourself, well, I guess it's not Kendall Barber, and now you're again confused. Is that correct?
Correct.
You didn't activate your lights or sirens, right?
I do not remember.
Okay, but your vehicle was capable of that,
Yes,
and that's one of the Marshall-owned vehicles.
you're correct.
Maybe not the same model as Mr. Meade's, but owned by the Marshal Service and equipped with lights, siren, correct?
That's correct.
Also has a PA system, doesn't it?
It does, but it works spottingly, but yes, it does.
It does have it, though.
Correct, it does.
And when you pulled up there at Sale Road and Estates Place, Mr. Meade didn't say, hey, get on your PA system and tell that guy to stop down there, did he?
No,
And he didn't suggest to you that you put your lights and sirens on, or do you remember?
I do not remember.
Okay. Let's get the video of the snippet of I'm going to show you a video here that's previously been marked as State's Exhibit 8G. And I want to see if you can identify some of the vehicles that are depicted in it. I'm not a good window, so let me step over here.
Good to go.
Okay, let's watch the video. This is, the video will pan, and let's watch the video, and then I have some questions.
Sure.
Okay. All right. We got a medic on scene, but they're...
Yeah, I know, that's what I said. Don't send them in yet.
Okay. Tell them to stay. Tell them to stay. Come out this way, folks. Come out. Hey, come out this way. We'll send them to you. Go back this way. Ma'am, come out. Start going out.
Okay. This is obviously after the shooting.
Yes, sir.
And do you recognize the lineup of trucks in the street there?
First two.
The first two? And the first one being whose? I'm sorry?
I believe the first one's Jason's and the second one, I believe, is mine.
Okay. And which would be the order that you guys
The same order.
would have been in?
That order.
Did you notice whether your lights were activated?
I don't think so, but it's
Well, we can
honestly,
play
it's
it
hard to
again.
tell
Play it
from that.
again so you can.
Okay. All right. We got a medic on scene, but they're...
Yeah, I know, that's what I said. Don't send them in yet.
Okay. Tell them to stay. Tell them to stay. Come out this way, folks. Come out. Hey, come out this way. We'll send them to you. Go back this way.
I would say probably not.
Well, do you see him flashing?
I don't see him flashing.
You see Mr. Meade's flashing, don't you?
I could see the taillights on this, watching the second time.
You saw his flash?
Correct.
And did you notice at the start they weren't flashing?
No. I'm sorry.
Play it again.
Are you seeing it on your screen there?
Yeah, but it's kind of blurry. I'm trying to watch both at the same time.
Okay. All right. We got a medic on scene, but they're...
Yeah, I know, that's what I said. Don't send them in yet.
Okay. Tell them to stay. Tell them to stay. Come out this way, folks. Come out. Hey, come out this way. We'll send them to you. Go back this way. Ma'am, come out.
You see it now?
Yeah, I saw what you're talking about.
They weren't flashing and then they were.
Yes.
And did you recognize that as Mr. Meade going to his truck early in the video?
No, honestly, I wasn't even paying attention to that. I was looking for lights. I'm
Play it one more time.
sorry.
Your Honor, objection. He's testified.
Overruled, just see if we can get this done.
Okay. All right. We got a medic on scene, but they're...
Yeah, I know, that's what I said.
Did you recognize that as Mr. Meade going to the truck?
I can't positively identify him from this video.
Did you hear the voice?
Voice sounds like him.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Okay. Tell them to stay. Tell them to stay. Come out this way. Folks, come out. Hey, come out this way. We'll send him to you. Go back this way. Ma'am, come out. Start going out.
Okay. So I understand you can't positively identify that as Mr. Meade, but whoever that was obviously activated the lights on that first truck. Isn't that correct?
It appears that way.
Okay. Would that be part of clearing the house?
As for clearing the house, no. More of a traffic control.
There, you know, the undercover lights or the light package on the truck is there for when you're moving through traffic, right?
Correct.
You know, there would have been no reason to go to the truck and activate the lights, would there?
There would be.
What would it be?
One, it's a crime scene to shut down the road.
Well, you saw cruisers on the road.
Correct, there's cruisers, but we would still activate it. He's at kind of almost like a T intersection there. You would
Okay.
still activate it.
Okay. Your truck didn't have leads capability,
That's correct.
but you had a radio to CPD that gave you leads capability. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. When you were at Sale and Estates Place, did Mr. Meade say, call leads, let's find out whose truck or whose vehicle that is?
No,
Okay, you weren't directed to do that,
no,
and you didn't do that.
I did not.
I think you testified on direct that when you see criminal activity, it's your obligation to investigate.
Correct.
When you're working in a plainclothes capacity and you want to inquire of someone, you want them to know you're a police officer. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And perhaps the best way is to bring in a marked cruiser with an officer in uniform. Isn't that correct?
When you have time.
Well, that's not my question. Isn't that the best
The
way?
best, correct, is to have
That's
a
the best way
cruiser.
to do
Don't
it.
speak over each other.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Apologies, sirs.
Okay. And there was no effort here to bring in a marked cruiser or a uniformed officer. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
Now, when you pulled your truck up there, was your window up or down?
I do not remember.
And it's, you're the driver of your vehicle, and you had a passenger who was Joseph Yorkowitz, correct?
That is correct.
Had he gotten out at Sale and Estates?
Yes,
So he had been donning his gear as well?
that is correct.
Okay, and what I'm gathering from your testimony is you got out, you were putting your vest on, and before you could complete that process, Mr. Meade was back in his truck and he was heading down.
That's correct.
Had Yorkowitz gotten his vest on?
I do not know.
Okay. your attention was where?
Down the street.
Okay? And it was at the point that Mr. Meade got back into his truck and started down the street, all you saw was an individual walking up the front yard. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I think you said that at some point his pace quickened.
It did.
It was not a run, it just quickened.
Not, at the beginning, it quickened. At the end, it turned into a run.
Okay. Maybe I misunderstood. I thought you basically put it into three categories.
Yes.
That it started with a walk.
Correct.
It quickened. At what point, at what spot was he when it quickened?
Like what spot in the yard or
Yes, yeah.
that I couldn't tell you. I wasn't looking at the spot. I was watching just his,
Okay.
like how he was moving and
It's
where he
not a
was.
very big front yard.
No, it's not, but I wasn't paying attention to where he was at. I was watching his movements and to see like where he was headed.
Okay. Well, obviously he was still in your sight when it became a run.
Right. It was the very end, like the very end.
And I think you said it was a sprint.
I might have.
Well, was it a sprint?
It would have been turned into a sprint. It was like the last part that I saw was like the end of the, like the be taking off, like to run.
So what, you saw his first stride?
First stride and a half, like
Okay.
the end, like
So
Out of
from
view.
that, you concluded that it was a sprint,
I would.
okay? And the reason that you only saw a stride or a stride and a half was because he disappeared on the side of the house. Is that correct?
Yes, my view was, I didn't have the view from that
Yeah,
point.
from your perspective, all you could see was the front of the house up to the corner of the front of the house, and he disappeared from sight going, I guess, that would be east, correct?
You're correct, sir.
And you, I'm sure didn't know at the time, but I would assume eventually recognize that that's where the sidewalk takes you, isn't it? If you're, there's a
Yes.
sidewalk that
Yes, you're correct.
goes around the house to the east.
Correct.
Okay. And he walked across the yard, got on the sidewalk, and followed the sidewalk. Is that right?
I don't know.
Well, you were there. You were the one that was watching.
I wasn't
Speak
watching.
over each other.
I'm sorry,
You ask the
Judge.
question and let him answer it.
I wasn't watching if he was in the grass or the sidewalk. I just saw his path.
How many shots did you hear?
I couldn't tell you.
What was it just one?
It was like a rapid fire, like a rifle is all I could tell you. That's all I know.
Okay. And it was after you heard the shots that you heard Meade say, "Show me your hands, show me your hands."
That's incorrect.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to mislead. Say it again, how the way it went.
I heard Jason yell, "Show me your hands, show me your hands," and then I heard gunshots.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I had it reversed. It was first, "Show me your hands," then the gun burst. Did he say, "Show me your hands" after?
Not that I heard.
Okay. So the commands stopped after the rifle fire.
As far as I know, yes.
And were you in your truck or had you gotten out of your truck?
I think I was just getting out.
Because you got the door open and you're stepping out of
like, hand on the handle, getting out of my car.
Okay. And your radio is where?
It would have been in my vest, like in here, like
Okay, so
in a
there's
pouch.
like a pocket or
There
something?
is. Yeah, it's like a attachment.
Is that the only radio that you carry? I mean,
That's the only one that I actually carry, correct?
do you have a second radio that?
I do now.
Well, bad question on my part.
No, you're fine.
On December 4th, was that the only radio that you had?
I believe it was.
Okay. So you didn't also have a handset separate from what you had in your vest?
No.
Okay. I mean, these are, I guess let's describe for the ladies and gentlemen, the jury in general, the types of radio that we're talking about. It looks like a walkie-talkie kind of thing, or is it smaller, bigger?
It's probably that, like, it's probably like that wide. And it's probably that tall.
And you can carry it in your hand.
You can carry it in your hand, or like at your attachment, you can attach to it.
And that's I would assume the typical way that you wear your radio. You and rather to keep your hands free, you've got a pocket to put it in, and then an earpiece that you attach.
That's correct.
Okay. And when it's tuned to a particular channel, then you don't have to do anything with the radio to talk on that channel, do you?
No.
I mean, it's going to broadcast whatever you're saying when it's turned on, or do you have to?
Yeah, when I hit the mic.
Okay, so you still, is the mic separate from the radio?
If I'm using the earpiece, yes.
Okay, well, if you're not using an earpiece,
Then it's, like if I don't have like the attachment for the, I guess it's like a mic itself that you can clip around, like they wear in patrol, like for patrol, then you would clip that, or on the side of the actual walkie-talkie, you can press the button and it still airs.
okay, so there's also a mic built into the walkie-talkie that, but there you would have to have it in your hand, push the button to talk on it.
That's correct.
Okay, so that, then at least one hand isn't free because you're carrying the radio.
That's correct.
Okay. And I think you said that, because yours is a Columbus Police radio, you have the marshal's channel on it, and I'm assuming there's a knob somewhere where you switch from channel to channel on the radio, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you, when you're obviously working so fast, you've got it tuned to or set on the marshal's channel, so that you don't have to switch it every time you want to make a broadcast on the radio, correct?
That's correct.
But you mentioned a banner button. And what the banner button does, and that's just something that you push, and it'll immediately switch the channels over to the Columbus Police channel, so now you're in contact with, the Columbus Police's radio network, I know they've got various ones, but that way you're then in communication with Columbus Police Radio.
Correct.
And as I'm understanding your testimony, after the shooting, you hit the banner button and aired that, what did you air?
Verbatim, I don't know, but it would have been along the lines of shots fired.
Did you hit a code or use a code like officer in trouble or anything?
Hitting the banner is already like a officer in trouble, which is a 10-3. I might have aired 10-3. I don't remember my
Okay.
specific
But-
words.
But just hitting the button, that signals to the radio room,
Yep.
officer in trouble, so that they can quickly respond and get help on the way.
That was correct.
Okay. And did you hit the banner right after you heard the shots? Or did you, had you moved towards the house when you hit the banner?
No, I didn't hit the banner till we got up to the house and I saw Mr. Goodson.
Okay, so when you were out of your truck, and heard the shots, you didn't hit the banner. You waited until you were up at the house and you saw that Mr. Goodson was, you actually saw Mr. Goodson before you hit the banner, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, I'm sure I was probably the only one confused, but
Mr. Merkel, be careful when you're going by, you're hitting the
I hit-
microphone. Yes.
I'm sorry. After the shooting, you run to the house, probably sprint, right? And you testified that you dropped your gun belt, just pulled your gun because you didn't need the gun belt, you didn't need to have that on. What you needed was your weapon. And when you got around the side of the house, you saw Mr. Meade, correct?
Correct.
And did you see Mr. Goodson at that point?
No.
Okay. Did you alert Mr. Meade that you were there?
I assumed you saw me.
You just assumed that he saw you. You didn't say, I'm right behind you.
No, I just ran up to him.
Okay, when you say ran up to him, are you side by side? Did you run in front of him?
Well,
Did you stand right behind him?
I'd say probably to his side.
Okay. And I'm guessing you don't know whether it was his right side or his left side that you ran to.
I don't.
Okay. So, but side by side, the two of you approached the door?
Correct.
Okay. And there's a small porch or stoop that you step up to from the sidewalk, isn't that correct?
Yes.
And when you entered the house, did you enter first? Did Mr. Meade enter first? Or did you guys go through the doorway side by side?
We didn't initially just enter the house. It was, we cleared that immediate area, like how we're trained to clear, before entering a room.
Okay.
And that's where we saw Mr. Goodson.
Okay.
Right there.
You cleared what immediate area?
Just around that door, like the entryway.
The entry,
To my left was blocked because of the door. So cleared to the right, which would have been the kitchen, and straight ahead was a wall. So it would have been to the kitchen area, because that was the open space.
okay. So when you use the term cleared, are you meaning that visually you were looking in those areas to see if there were people or see what existed there?
That's correct.
Okay. And when you say cleared, from your visual inspection, you recognize that you could move into the house because no one was there other than Mr. Goodson on the floor.
Yes and no.
I'm
Yeah.
talking about just the.
Again, don't speak over.
I'm sorry, Judge. I'm trying to make it clear
I
that he
understand.
understands what I'm saying.
Jill's gonna scream at me.
Yeah, I don't want to think about her thoughts of me. But I'm just trying to understand exactly what movements you and Mr. Meade made at that point.
So the initial was, we visually, like, couldn't see left, so we cleared right. That's where we saw Mr. Goodson.
Okay? And I'm sorry to interrupt you. Again, you know, and I want you to use the language you're comfortable with, but when you say clear, basically you mean we've looked there.
Visually clear. Like, we
Visually.
don't know it's clear, but it's just a visual.
Right.
I do not see a person or a
Right.
threat at this
You
time.
haven't physically done anything over there.
No, it's just visually what we see is there's no threat right
Okay.
there, right now.
Yeah. I'm fine. I just want to make sure we're all understanding what you're doing. Okay. So you look to the right,
Correct.
you see Mr. Goodson on the floor, don't see anybody else.
Correct.
Okay. And then that's when you look to the left?
No, the door's already blocking me.
Okay.
So I can't look to the left,
Well, when you look to the left, the door is,
right there.
okay. Let's,
You doing okay, Jill? Yes, you may. What? Take about a 10-minute recess. Hold on. Do not discuss this case among yourselves. Do not permit anyone to discuss it with you or in your presence. It is your duty not to form or express an opinion on the case until it's finally submitted to you. About 10 minutes.
All rise.
out. Yeah, they were laying right here. Okay, that's fine. I wasn't sure whether.
Sorry, I think when we were sorting it.
I didn't want to stuff them away if you had about.
Here in that jury room, so we got to move all the jurors over to, Patricia's jury room. Going good for a week now.
Maybe it wasn't such a good idea to have windows in the jury room.
Yeah. Other than right before his testimony, my screen is logged off. It's like, if I don't keep it on, then I have to sign in. More than 5 hours. What was, Meade, an hour? Hour and 15.
That's not good. Okay. Do you want me to have them come in?
No, good. Yeah. I don't have to pay. I just go to sleep, and when there's an objection, I can look down and see what it says. Everyone can have a seat. Any further cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. We, yeah, the Elmo. Officer Osser, this is what's been admitted as State's Exhibit 2TT. That's the area that you're talking about that was cleared first, right?
Correct.
And I think, you said you were able to look to the right, which would be into the kitchen, is that correct?
Yes.
And the left was blocked by what we see as the edge of the, there's an inside door there. And I got a better picture of it. This is 2PP, which has been admitted into evidence. And that door, if I'm understanding your testimony correctly, when you're at the storm door there, you could see into the kitchen, but that door was at like a 90-degree position, and you couldn't see into the room where the.
What door are you, can you point out what door you're talking about?
I'm sorry, this door here, is that correct?
That's correct.
And I believe you said you kicked the door open?
I did.
So you moved it from that 90-degree position to roughly the position it's in now?
Correct.
Okay. And at that point, you could see into the living room area, is that correct?
That's correct.
So what's been admitted as State's Exhibit 2MM, and that's we're standing back in the living room area, and you're seeing a portion of the living room. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay. Now, is this where you encountered the man holding a small child?
So that was the door that I kicked right there, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it would have been the room that picture is incorrect.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the storm door there. And so after you cleared the kitchen, I assume you had to step up into the landing to kick the door open, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So you're stepping right up in this area, and that's where you kicked the door open?
I believe so.
Okay. When you stepped up in there, did you step up there first? Was it Mr. Meade, or did the two of you step in there together?
I do not remember how that worked.
Okay, okay. But you know you're the one that kicked it this way.
Correct.
And as you said, you encountered a man holding a small child.
Correct.
And he's somewhere out in this room here.
I think there was a couch. I think he was sitting on a couch.
I've got another shot of the room. This is 2 triple N. I think that covers the rest of the room.
I pictured it as a couch, but yeah, he was in that over by the blue tote.
Yeah, looking at the pictures, you can see that there wasn't a couch.
No, in my mind, I'm picturing that
Okay.
being a couch and sitting on a
Okay.
couch.
But you instructed him or commanded him in unambiguous terms to not come forward, right?
Correct.
And basically to remain in the position he was or remain in the area that he was and perhaps sit down on the floor.
Correct.
Okay. So that was you that gave those instructions to him?
Correct.
Okay, where was Mr. Meade at that point?
I would have been either right behind me or right to my right.
Okay. Okay, so once that had occurred, I believe you then turned your attention to the kitchen?
That was all like happening like that, so I kicked
I
it.
realize it's happened a lot.
Don't
I'm
speak over
sorry.
each other. This is not a conversation. You ask a question, he answers.
Yeah,
I kicked the door, gave orders, and at the same time, Yorkowitz is there, and I have Yorkowitz step up, and I go back to my right, which would be the kitchen area.
okay, so by the time you'd kicked the door and given the command, you recognized that Yorkowitz is right there on the stoop, and you directed Yorkowitz in to watch that area. And then you turned your attention to the kitchen.
Correct.
So when you turned your attention to the kitchen, is Mr. Meade in the kitchen at that point?
No, he's right there, still
Okay.
where we were.
And I believe you said that Casey was lying face down. Could you see his hands?
He was face down when we first came into, like, when we first got to the entry, the doorway,
Right,
third right. That's when he was face down.
okay,
Jason rolled him over prior to me kicking the door.
okay. We're out of, I'm
No, I'm
out of.
sorry.
I'm out of sequence, you're not. So Jason, Mr. Meade, before you were able to check the living room, had already rolled Mr. Goodson over to his back, is that correct?
Correct.
And you don't recall which way, what direction he rolled him,
I
just,
can't remember at this time.
just that he rolled him?
Yes.
And I believe your testimony was that he did it by rolling him, grabbing his leg
I think it was either one or both legs and rolled them. I don't
Okay,
know.
all right. But it wasn't up in the head area that he
No.
rolled him from? Okay. And so once you positioned Yorkowitz, now you're turning your attention back over to the kitchen area. And Mr. Meade has already rolled Casey over. Is that when you first saw a gun?
When he first rolled him over, yes.
Okay. And so tell us what you did at that point.
After the door was
Yes.
kicked, stepped across where Casey was lying, stepped across and went in front of him and held the rest of the house that came
Okay,
into the kitchen.
So you had to kind of step over him to get
I don't know if it
further
was,
into the kitchen?
I don't know if it was physically step over or step just around. I don't know how the semantics on how I stepped, but that area, yes, I had to step through.
One moment, Your Honor. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, can we, I'm sorry. Yes, here. Okay, I'm gonna show you what. I can read my writing. Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as states, or what's been introduced as State's Exhibit 8B. And this is quite a bit later, but might help us get some positioning here. This is you, correct?
That's correct.
And so to orient you, the picture's coming from the doorway to the kitchen that you passed through. You understanding that?
Yeah, the door, yeah, where we entered the house,
Okay.
correct.
So to get to and that's the position that you took up that we're talking about right at this point.
You are correct.
So you had to step over or around Casey to get to that position. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, I actually grabbed the wrong picture. 8A, I guess that's the position that Casey was in after Mr. Meade rolled him over. Is that right?
I believe so. It's hard to, but yes, I believe so.
Feet towards the entryway, head on into the kitchen. Is that correct?
That's how he was prior to, like, when we first got up to the door.
Yeah,
And
only he would have been on his stomach, right?
That's correct.
And you described that you noted a weapon on the floor when Casey was rolled over, and that had been under his chest area?
That's correct.
Okay. Upper chest?
Yeah, like pectoral area.
All right. And you also described a holster that you saw in his waistband. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, you didn't take the holster out and examine it at any point.
Never touched it.
Okay. So it's just what you observed in his waistband.
You are correct.
You said that you wear a holster in your waistband. Where was this located in his waistband?
I believe the front, same place where I carry mine.
Front?
Front right.
Okay. But you didn't pay attention, or not pay attention, you didn't note the quality of the holster, whether it was a high-quality holster or a relatively inexpensive kind of cloth-like holster, did you?
I did not.
Does council want to approach? You can stay there.
In fact, Your Honor, I am done. Thank you, officer.
Thank you, sir.
Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor, briefly. May I proceed?
You may.
Mr. Merkel asked you about Deputy Meade not telling you to get on the radio, correct?
Correct.
But he did tell you what he saw, right?
Correct.
He told you what was going on?
Yes.
He told you that person has a gun, right?
Correct.
Mr. Merkel asked you a series of questions about what you didn't do. Do you remember him asking, well, you didn't get on your radio and call into leads, right?
Correct.
Do you have time to do that?
Do not.
Mr. Merkel asked you about the best way to handle an undercover operation, that being with a marked cruiser. Do you recall him asking you that?
I do.
Did you have time to call in a marked cruiser at this point?
Did not.
Do sometimes things happen like this while you're undercover?
A lot of times.
Did you even have time to put your gear on?
No.
Mr. Merkel talked to you about these 3 stages of the person and how it escalated from walking to sprinting. Did this happen quickly?
It did.
Was this person progressing slowly through the stages?
It wasn't slowly, but it all was transpiring like at the same time. It wasn't taking time in each little part. It was all movements that were happening at once.
One fluid action.
Right.
Mr. Merkel talked to you about the commands you heard and the order of which you heard commands versus shots, right? Do you recall him asking you that?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any doubt that you heard commands before the shots on December 4th, 2020?
I have zero doubt.
Mr. Merkel spent a lot of time talking about your radio and the components of your radio, the channels on your radio. Do you know if Jason Meade's radio is the same as yours?
I have no idea.
Mr. Merkel asked you about positionings in the kitchen, where you were positioned, where Jason Meade was positioned while this was going on, correct?
Correct.
How would you describe that scene as it was occurring, Officer Rosser?
Chaotic.
A million things going on at once?
It just times 100. It was just nonstop chaos.
Fair to say that you're focused on different things at different times?
Correct.
And all at once? Mr. Merkel spoke about the area where the gun was when you first saw the gun. Do you recall him asking you that question?
Yes, ma'am.
And I believed you said it was like in the chest area, upper pec, right?
Correct.
Same as your torso, correct?
That's correct.
May I have a moment?
Okay.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Any redirect? Any recross? Based on those questions? All right, you can step down. Yeah, you're free to go. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our lunch break. Do not discuss this case among yourselves. Do not permit anyone to discuss it with you or in your presence. It is your duty not to form or express an opinion on the case until it is finally submitted to you. And then we'll start back up at 1:30.
All rise.